Welcome to the 7 Generations Ahead Food Service Training. I'm with the Zero Waste Schools program, and I'll be leading you through this training. 7 Generations Ahead builds environmentally sustainable and healthy communities and tackles the climate crisis with solutions that are bold, equitable, and just. We empower Chicago area schools to reduce waste, which addresses both the climate crisis and food insecurity. We do this by shifting operations and mindsets towards generating zero waste through source reduction, recycling, composting, and food recovery. Food waste is a huge problem around the country and around the world, so we work with schools to help them address this issue. Over 7 billion school meals are served each year in the US, and much of that food is going to landfills rather than nourishing students, while 1 in 6 children is food insecure. Food waste in landfills produces methane, a harmful greenhouse gas that contributes to climate change. Wasting food wastes the water and energy used in growing, processing, transporting, and preparing the food. Wasting food wastes money and labor along the entire supply chain. When working with schools, we use the wasted food scale as a guide. The EPA suggests preventing food waste and donating extra food as main ways to address food waste. Studies have shown that offer versus serve significantly reduces plate waste, since students are only taking what they intend to eat. And share tables are an effective way to repurpose food that would otherwise be wasted. Your district is focused on reducing food waste in schools. As food service staff, your work is the front line in reducing waste and the most important role in making an impact. Today, we'll begin that work by learning how to use share tables and how to implement offer versus serve during mealtimes. I'm so excited to talk with you about share tables today. Share tables are where students may place items from the school lunch, unopened, factory sealed items, or whole fruit they did not eat. Acceptable items include packaged cereal, unopened milk, and fruit. Share tables cannot accept foods that are in opened containers or openable containers, such as those open bags of veggies. And unfortunately, food from home can't be put on the share table. Depending on local health codes, foods left on a share table may be handled in one of 2 ways. A one-way share table means that students can place food on the table, but they can't take items off. A two-way share table means food can be taken by other students during the same meal period. Students can give food and take food from the share table. Some items that end up on the share table will be foods that require cooling to stay safe. This applies to items such as milk, string cheese, and yogurt, as well as factory sealed bags of sliced fruit or vegetables. You can use one of 2 methods to keep these items safe. Using time as a control for safety means monitoring the share table to make sure food is not left out for more than 4 hours. Using temperature as a control for safety means using a cooling pack or refrigerator to constantly keep the food at the appropriate temperature. For most schools, using time as a control will be an adequate way to keep food safe. However, if you have a very long lunch schedule at your school, then keeping share table items cool may be a better choice. You may also decide to track the surplus food from your share table using a log. There's many reasons for this. Logging can help you keep track of food for reservicing. It can help you keep track of what kinds of surplus food you are getting so you can adjust your food ordering. And it can help you communicate what food is available to donation centers and food pantries. So, how do we deal with the surplus food on a share table that students didn't take? There are lots of options for your school district to choose from. Your school can decide to reserve food at a future reimbursable meal. Your school could redistribute the food within the school, for example, as afternoon snacks or through a backpack program. Or your school could donate the food to a food pantry or local shelter. If your school has decided to reserve food, we have some tips for you. Make sure you have a separate shelf in the refrigerator for temperature controlled items that will be reserved. We suggest labeling and dating items that come from the share table, including milk, to ensure they are served first. And remember, reserviced items can be reimbursed a second time. So, what's your role in supporting a share table? Lunchroom and kitchen staff can monitor the share table. What you're looking for when you're monitoring is to make sure that the food items that are on the share table are unopened, factory sealed, or that they're whole fruit or cartons of milk. And that there are no items from home lunches ending up on the share table where another student could take them. You're also monitoring to make sure that food is stored or redistributed properly after lunches, that the food log is being filled out if your school is using one, and that there's a cold pack for temperature controlled for safety foods. Again, if that's the method your school is using. Now we'll have a quiz to practice remembering the rules for share table food. Can this go on the share table? Yes, because it's whole fruit. Can this go on the share table? No, because these aren't completely sealed. These are in plastic cups with a plastic lid, but they are not factory sealed. How about this? Can this go on the share table? No, again, this item is not factory sealed. How about these cheese sticks? Yes, these can go on the share table because these have been factory sealed. How about these baggies of vegetables? No, they can't go on the share table because they're not factory sealed. Next, we're going to discuss offer versus serve, which I'll sometimes refer to as OVS. One of the easiest and most impactful ways to reduce food waste is to use the offer versus serve method. It's a way to serve meals for schools and is part of the National School Lunch Program. It's optional for K to 8 students, but required for high school students to participate in offer versus serve. Offer versus serve means that instead of being given all their food items, students are allowed to select food items for their meal. Students must be offered all the items on the menu, but they only need to take 3 items. Students must select a fruit or a vegetable. All grade groups must be offered 1 cup of milk each day, but under offer versus serve, students may decline the milk. Allowing students to select their own food means there will be less food wasted at the end of the meal. Another way to reduce food waste is to offer the correct portion size for students. Students must choose at least 3 meal items to make a reimbursable meal. This has to include a fruit or a vegetable. A serving of fruit is 1/2 cup. A serving of vegetables is 3/4 of a cup. That is for students in K to 8. For some menu items, there's a range of portion sizes. We recommend that for the K to 5 age range, students in K to 2 are offered the lower end of the suggested serving, and students in 3 to 5 are offered the higher end of the suggested serving size. That's to accommodate for K to 2 having smaller bodies and smaller appetites. These are some examples of school service lines that use offer versus serve. Offer versus serve signage is important to remind students what they do and don't have to take. This is an example of a school service line that uses offer versus serve. Here's another example of a school service line that uses offer versus serve and also has an important reminder of what students do and don't have to take. When provided with a salad bar, students can serve themselves fruit and vegetables. To make sure they get a full serving, use a portioned serving spoon of 1/2 of a cup for fruit and a 3/4 cup scoop for vegetables. That makes sure that they get the full amount needed for a reimbursable meal. This is a reminder that students need only to select 3 of the 5 components of a meal to be a reimbursable meal, and that one of the components must be a fruit or vegetable. Milk is not required. Students should take it if they'll drink it and leave it if they won't. So, what's your role in supporting offer versus serve? Staff should ask students if they want something before putting it on their plate. If possible, give students the opportunity to serve themselves. Remind students to take at least a 1/2 a cup of fruit or 3/4 cup of serving of vegetable every day. And don't force children to take a milk. Do make sure you're offering 5 meal components each day. So, how can the rest of the school support offer versus serve? Here are some ideas to make sure the lunch line keeps moving. While students wait in the cafeteria, lunchroom staff can review the day's menu with students and explain how students can select a reimbursable meal. The school can post menus and highlight required meal components on the school website or on flyers that children take home. You can offer fewer choices within meal components. For example, you could offer just 1 fruit per day or 1 vegetable per day. Teachers can announce the menu each morning and support younger students in thinking about their food choices before they get to the cafeteria. What questions do you still have about offer versus serve? And what ideas do you want to share about implementing offer versus serve? Now we're going to discuss some different offer versus serve scenarios you might encounter. How do we deal with this scenario in which there's a pre plated meal with all food components? Schools who are pre plating food are encouraged to make modifications to accommodate offer versus serve. For example, staff could pre plate an entree and then give students a choice of fruit, vegetables, or milk. Also, a basket with a variety of fruits or a separate cooler with milk choice would be possible ways to implement OVS. If you're used to pre-loading plates, consider, is there just a portion you could preload and then have opportunities for choice with fruit, vegetable, or milk? How do we deal with this scenario? A student chooses an additional item, such as a pudding cup, as one of their food items. This extra food may be selected by the student in addition to the meal, but it does not count toward the minimum number of 3 food components that make up a reimbursable meal. How do you deal with this? A student has taken less than a full serving. If a student does not select at least a 1/2 a cup serving total of fruits and or 3/4 cup of vegetables, the lunch is not reimbursable, even if he or she has 3 other meal components. They must have a full serving of fruit or vegetable each day. Thanks so much for listening. Please reach out to 7 Generations Ahead with any questions about using share tables or implementing offer versus serve at your school.